All right, so this is just a test stream, seeing how the new Starlink internet works, and got some audio going. So who knows? Maybe this could become a regular kind of thing. But yeah, trying out the wheels on live stream. Like I said, our internet has been super crappy for a really long time here, like barely able to upload anything. An average video taking like 24 hours to upload. So this is just a test stream. You got some questions you want to toss out? I've got 10 or 15 minutes here. Might scroll through the Facebook group and answer some questions there. But if you can hear the audio okay, just let me know. I'm going to watch this again after it's done. But yeah, it's testing out the wheels on the new Starlink internet. So before this, our average download speed would be like 2.5 or 4. Upload would be negligible at times. And now we hooked it up yesterday. We're running about 90 on the downlink and about 15 or 20 on the uplink, which is pretty awesome compared to what we had. I know for some people we've had much faster internet than we have had. So what's going on with everybody? Let's change the chat over here to some live chat. Again, if you're just hopping on, just spending 10 minutes cruising this around, trying out what fast internet looks like. Hop over here to the Facebook group, Farm Builder Entrepreneurs. That's where a lot of stuff is happening. If you haven't checked it out, you should head over there and definitely check that out. And let's see. A lot of business stuff over there. Oh, so yeah, one thing that's coming up here. So Carl Blake, who you might know, kind of a pig guide, does a lot of equipment for pigs. The American Hot Box, I think, is one of his products that he produces. Anyway, he is putting on a master class on his farm coming up on the 26th and 27th, and I'm going to be down there for that. So it is in Missouri. It's I think at their farm or very close to it, and they're going to have a breakdown of how a pig is broken down, whole hog roasting. Have some classes on raising swine. So I'll be there, and some other guys will be there. Rodrigo Duarte, hoping I'm saying his name right. So the famed charcuterie master coming to us all the way from New York. He's the only certified Iberico pork in the United States, coming all the way from Portugal. Rodrigo is going to demonstrate sausage making, chorizo, seam butchery, prosciutto, and all the yummy aged meats. So that should be cool. I'll be there, talk about raising pigs, the management systems that we have out on our farm. And then Carl will be there as well, which he's been on a bunch of different shows talking about pigs and talking about his business. So it'll be a cool 2 days of hanging out together, talking about pig stuff, eating pig. So if pigs are your world, then this would be a good place to check it out. You can let me see if I can put the link into this chat. That would be pretty awesome, and then you guys can have a copy of that. All right, a couple comments here. All good, no skip, chatter, or desync. Awesome, nice and clear, no lag. Yes, great connection. Waiting on Starlink. Yeah, we waited for over a year to get our system in as well. So good luck with that. Here, I'll drop that link here into the chat. There we go. All right, if you want to check that out. Okay, what's with the extremely high price on pork right now? Yeah, so posted that in a group a couple weeks ago. Costs are going through the roof. Not so much for us yet on, let's say, cost of goods, which is going to be your, grains and feed, stuff like that. A little uptick, but not too much yet. The real increase in costs is on those expenses. Our labor cost has gone through the roof in the last year and a half. COVID probably had something to do with it. Inflation had, a lot to do with it. Very tight labor market. So our labor costs have I wouldn't say they're probably up 50 to 75% over what they used to be. And then a lot of other things in expense categories have gone up. Of course, fuel is really high right now. Hopefully that will stabilize out. But even just some general services, like one of the companies that does a back end service for our company, they're raising their prices by like 60% this year, and other things are going up. So all of that is kind of reflecting out into higher prices. And if as a business you're not making those adjustments and constantly looking at your numbers and recalculating that, right now we're doing that on at least a quarterly basis, maybe even more. You could have the risk of falling behind very rapidly, because what happens in an inflationary environment is costs are on the rise on a continual basis. And if you're still operating off of a price list from, say, a year ago, you could find that the revenue one animal brings into your farm isn't even enough to replace that animal moving into the future. And there's a whole school of thought on how to approach your numbers that Bud Williams had. It's a sell buy versus a buy sell model, which would be do a whole class on that. And his daughter and son-in-law do have a class on it that I would highly encourage you to check out. But essentially, whatever animal you're getting ready to sell, you have to price it at what does it cost you to replace that animal, not at what did it cost you to grow it. Because if you're putting that pig in the freezer, well, you got to pay for another pig in the field and the feed that pig is going to eat in order for that pig to grow before you can recuperate your money that you're putting out. So it's really important in especially the kind of environment that we're in with inflation and other factors that are causing prices increases, to always be looking at your numbers and know what's going on. So that's translating through our piglet prices we had to raise pretty high, and that's just what the numbers told us. Anything that's grain centric is probably going to get very expensive further into the year that we go. If you look at where grain futures are potentially trending, if the situation, let's say in Eastern Europe, continues to happen, and the disruption that's going to have in the world market, and it's getting crazy. You have a lot of companies saying they're no longer going to do business with Russia, and then China is getting upset about it. And so there's this, let's say this giant ruffling of the global market feathers going on, and everyone's upset. And usually that shakes out to a lot of expense for us little guys here on the front line, unfortunately. Let's see. Go back over to the group here and see what's going on. Wrong place. Farm builder entrepreneurs. Again, if you're just jumping on the stream here, testing out the new wheels on the Starlink internet, and finally feeling welcomed into the 21st century, 22 years behind everybody else, but things you have to deal with when you are out on the farm. Anybody else have slow internet on their farm? You know exactly what I am talking about. So we got some posts here about bale grazing. Scroll through that. Fence chargers, sheeps, website builder. Yeah, I'd recommend GrazeCart if you're looking at kind of all-in-one that can handle e-commerce and have a pretty decent front end for your website as well. Let's see some updates there. Seeing the same questions rotate through. Come on, Facebook. All right, here's one. Does anyone use polywire for pigs? So we do a lot of pigs here. I personally do not use polywire. The reasons are it can be a little bit harder to repair. those stainless steel filaments can break down over time, and you don't know where that short will be. So it'll be hard to identify where your short area is and get that fixed. Also, I don't know if it would have an issue with tensioning, that if you're using aluminum wire, you can get a decent tension on there that'll give the pigs a good contact and shock them back. Let's see, I got my Starlink a few weeks ago. I went from 4 millibytes to around 200. It's awesome. Yeah, absolutely. Is it still worth raising 3 pigs with the possibility of high feed costs? Yeah, I would say absolutely, because if feed costs are high, that means prices are going to get high at the grocery store. So there's several reasons to look at raising pigs if you're doing it for yourself. It's food security. If you guys haven't noticed, shelves kind of get spotty over the last year and a half on when meat's there, when it's not there. So there's certainly an element of food security. That's good to have some of your food actually on your property in case. And also, if you're looking at selling pigs, it's always good to have something available when you're in let's say a period of economic uncertainty. Other people are looking to put reserves in their freezers as well. So like we raised our prices a couple weeks ago, basically right around the start of March. It has not impacted our sales at all. I had to call all of our piglet buyers and send out an email to them and say, hey guys, unfortunately the price is going to have to go up significantly. And I had one guy back out on an order of 4 piglets. But all of our big buyers, who are buying 50 pigs a month, 100 pigs a quarter, something like that, again, you have to have some conversations with them and say, hey, this is the reality of what's going on for us. And they know that. Everybody sees what's going on. Everything's getting higher. And, they're understanding and they're adjusting their prices as necessary. So I would certainly be raising a few pigs right now. And you could look at ways to mitigate those high feed costs. Make sure you're not cutting corners on the protein content that those animals need in their diet. But if you have a source of a good proteinaceous food, you can certainly cut costs on your starches and carbohydrates by feeding some kind of food scraps or bread scraps or something like that. Let's see, another question here. Just started my homestead in North Carolina. I want to add a couple pigs. What is the best breed for beginners? Excellent question here. So the best breed for a beginner who is looking to get into raising pigs is going to be a breed that's already being raised in a similar way to how you're going to raise your own. So you don't need to run out and drop $1,500 on a Mangalitsa or go get a bunch of coonies off of Facebook or Craigslist. Look for someone who's raising pigs in a way that is similar to how you want to do it on your farm. So, are you going to raise pigs outdoors in a say a permanent kind of paddock around a shed? Look for someone who's already doing it that way. Are you going to be raising pigs outdoors in a movement intensive program where they're moving around the pasture quite a bit? Source pigs from a farm that's already doing it that way. And the reason is, certainly you can get into the discussion about which breeds grow faster than others, but a lot of time where the extreme cost of raising a pig is in management. So you could get, say, a cheap pig from a confinement facility that they have extra pigs, sometimes extra piglets. You can get those really cheap. Like back when COVID kicked off, there were tractor trailer loads of them around for like $15 a head. But a lot of times what happens is those pigs are setting, so they fall apart when you put them out in the field. They die, they're sickly, they just don't perform well. So I always like to select for management compatibility before I go breed shopping. When we started our hog herd, we did not have pure breeds. We picked out the animals that were best performing in our management system and then built for those other things there. You can always bring in some genetic influence for other things that you're looking for if you're running a breeding operation. But if you're just getting a couple pigs to grow out on your homestead, get some piglets from stock that's already outside, that's adapted and well acclimated to the climate, to the extremes of cold and hot. And then if you're going to be looking at keeping them in with just some simple electric fence. Try to buy from a system that already manages that way, because what they have done is generations of selection for compatibility with pigs that get along with electric fences well. And that's what we found to be true over doing pigs for 13 years now, is you can select for these attitude and let's just say personality traits that you want to have in a hog herd. All right, Peter Jones, do you have a preference at your processor to scalding the pigs or skinning the pigs? And would there be value added potential to having them scalded, coming from Denmark, I assume? So the processor we use, we do not have the option. They are all skinned, and that's fine with us. We don't mess with a lot of the, let's say more niche kind of cuts that require skin on kind of stuff. So, most stuff, the pork chops, bacon, sausage, even if you have your hog scalded, that skin's going to get cut off and disposed of anyway. So the way in the United States a lot of processors charge is they're charging by hanging weight for how much they're going to charge you to butcher the pig. So I wouldn't want them to be charging me for the skin weight if I'm not going to use the skin for something to begin with. Now, if you have customers that are wanting things more for barbecue pigs or something where you need the skin on, then of course look to do that. But 99% of our pigs are skinned and not scalded. So cool, good chat. We'll give it a few more minutes here and then wrap it up. This has been fun. Again, checking out some Starlink stuff here, seeing what the speed is. If you're just tuning into the live stream, nothing too crazy going on here, just some Q&A with the chat, just cruising the Facebook group, Farm Builder Entrepreneurs, and kicking the tires on this new high-speed connection we have with our Starlink system now. Let's see here. Yeah, Facebook, you were just giving me the same posts over and over. Oh, here's one of my favorites. All right, this is from Scott Watts over in the Facebook group. I know I see posts from time to time of folks asking what prices others charge. I also know the somewhat limited value of these numbers given regional influences. That's very true right there. It doesn't matter what price I charge or what price you charge. It just needs to be correct to what you need to charge. Because it's going to be a very different set of numbers for someone who's, say, in New Mexico as opposed to Virginia. So back to his post here. Being both an ex-accountant and self-proclaimed data junkie, I keep very meticulous records. What I am curious about is anyone willing to share their gross margin percentages they expect from their various farm enterprises for a direct-to-consumer market as halves and wholes. Each animal type is treated as a different enterprise on our farm. I'm curious only about gross margin, revenue, less cost of goods sold. This would only include actual input costs, feed, warmer, transportation, etc. It does not include costs like infrastructure, fence, owner labor, barns, tractors, etc. So there's a couple ways that you can look at numbers when you're starting to set, like what do your prices need to be, and also how do you keep your books. And something we've learned is there's a way that you keep books that keeps accountants correct, and when you're filing taxes, they need it a specific way, kind of the typical QuickBooks, over and under, that you got your cost of goods sold, and then you have your expenses, and then your true net after that. And you will need to set up your books in that way, because that is how taxes are done. But when you're actually looking at a specific enterprise on your farm, you have to a large part, integrate those numbers together to know what it's actually costing you to produce a product. So for instance, our cost of goods on a pig could be, say, $300 or something like that. But you can't just use that number when you're determining how much you need to charge for a pig. You actually have to pull the expenses that are assigned to that enterprise over into those numbers. So the way that we do it is we have what's called a cost sheet for every species that we have on the farm. where we can plug in those specific numbers. And it accounts for everything. What labor is involved with that enterprise? What percentage of the farm infrastructure is assigned to that enterprise? Of all the equipment we have a whole list that we can say, all right, it's 20% of this piece of equipment, 50% of this equipment is used for pigs. All that will start to spit out numbers that we then can put into a complete sheet that will give us, hey, this is what we need at the end. This is what our return per piglet needs to be. This is what our return per finished hog needs to be, et cetera, et cetera. And that's a much more true way of identifying what your enterprises are actually costing you and what revenue they need to make for your farm. So those of you who have come to one of our on-farm schools or been to a conference that I've spoken at, you'll know what I'm talking about when we work through these cost sheets. And it's a very valuable tool to know, hey, I need to make X amount per pig or per beef or per chicken. It doesn't matter what someone 10 miles down the road is doing. It doesn't matter what someone 100 miles away is doing. That's my cost, and that's what I have to hit. All right. Peter Jones, you had one before. Oh, okay. Oh, from Wisconsin, not Denmark. Okay, good to go. All right, Jordan Boone. In Florida, I'm paying around $4.65 per ton for 16% hog feed. Roughly, what's the price in Virginia? So grinding our own feed, we are probably right around 400. We grind most of our pig feed. We do get a little bit for a specific thing we've got going on. But I think off the shelf, actually look it up here right now and find out. We just got some the other day. Let me look at this. So yeah, we're at about 415, 420 a ton for hog feed. And for us to grind our own feed right now, look this up. Nice being able to stream off of your computer because you can actually look at everything in real time. Feed calculator, please. Let's see here. Not finding the one I am looking for. Yeah, I think we're in like that high 300s, right around 400 cost. So pretty comparable to where you were at, maybe a little bit lower. All right, 5 more minutes here. Cruise the Facebook group a little bit more. Russia halts fertilizer exports. Yeah, of course they would. Let's see. What other questions do you guys have? Give me a couple more questions, and then I've got to duck out. Yeah, winter farrowing. That's always a fun one. We're just coming out of our winter season. Actually had a pretty decent crack at farrowing this winter. A lot of our December farrowing was in some pretty nice 70 degree weather, which was a little bit unusual here, but definitely not going to complain about that for farrowing. January was kind of in some cold weather, but nothing too crazy. We did decent with that. And now we're hitting into March farrowing, 70 degrees outside right now, 40, 50 degrees at night. Some really good weather here for our mid-March going into April farrowing season. And we've got a lot of piglets about to hit the ground. So it's going to be a busy season for us. Let's see. Okay, this would be a good one to wrap it up on. Does anyone have a good freezer alarm they would recommend? We have 7 chest freezers at the moment. Meanwhile, my father just lost an entire freezer full of meat when a 2-month-old freezer had the light running, but the compressor died on it. That definitely sucks. I don't necessarily need an alarm with an app. Something audible would be fine. I'm open to suggestions. All right, so what we use is called a temp stick. And let me see if I can pull that up, and I'll drop it in the chat for you. But you can get them on Amazon, I believe. You can get them on their own website. Let's see, I'll just give you the link to their website. But it's pretty cool. You have to use lithium batteries. You can't use the regular alkaline ones because when they get cold, they don't work very well. So you have to use a lithium battery, but it's got a little device that you just put into your freezer. There we go. There's a link to it. And then you do have to have Wi-Fi, but most of us have Wi-Fi in our stores, so that's not that big a deal. It connects to the Wi-Fi, which then routes it to your phone or however many phones you want to have connected to it. And it will give you alarms if your temperature hits a certain amount that you set. Also, something that could be important is it keeps a log of all your temperatures. Now, this has never happened to us. I've heard of it happening to other farms. But, according to USDA regulations and state regulations, you have to keep a log of what your freezers are at. And so this thing will do that automatically for you. It'll give you a log of what the temperatures were every minute for as long as you've had the thing. So it's great backstop should you have some kind of food safety audit going on your farm. All right, dudes, I'm going to wrap it up here. Definitely we'll be planning to do some more of these now that we've got some good internet going. And I know a lot of you are probably still working. This was just a random thing. Had 30 minutes to plug in here before we're going to go off and do some other stuff. So do check out the link up there at the top of the stream for the masterclass that's coming up in the end of next week, coming right up. That'll be in Missouri. I'll be down there for that. Love to hang out with you guys if you come to that. We'll be scheduling some more of these chats here on the channel, getting into a lot more content, I hope, and be seeing a lot of you guys around. So until next time, get after it on your farm and stay frosty.